Hey everybody, welcome to Salty Saturday. It's a great Saturday night for Hearthstone. It's a great Saturday night for THL, and I'm happy to be here as has been standard the last few weeks with Icicles. Ice, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy to be casting and not playing. So looking forward to these matches.
Yes, less stressful, sometimes fewer consequences, and in this case, no consequences for either of us as we're not doing any teammate matches this week, which I think is always preferable in my opinion. But we do have two fantastic matches, one in the form of a Pro Series match up first, and one a little bit later in the form of a Legacy Series match. So first, let's talk about this Pro Series match. You can see at the bottom of the screen here, it's BillSnyder of Tap Washers versus urmumked of NPH. And now, this does have some future playoff implications in the Pink Conference here. We have the Tap Washers looking pretty strong, pretty secure right now in third place with 92 points. They're behind just Faction and Popeye's Spicy Chicken Sandwich. And there's a pretty big gap there between them and the fourth place team, F2L. Meanwhile, NPH really needs a win this week to have a shot at kind of getting up into that fourth place spot here in Pink. And right now it's kind of slipping away from them. They're down 8-2 to the Tap Washers. So BillSnyder can pretty much clinch it tonight, but urmumked can keep NPH alive. So Icicles, just looking over the matches here so far, and what do you expect to see tonight, and just in general, your thoughts on the playoff race in the Pink Conference?
Yeah, I think Top Watchers has established themselves as a front-running team. The combination of Tap Last and National Wishas or Washi Mishas, depending on which iteration they're particularly using. So definitely some championship pedigree there with that team. And No Pros here, their first foray into Pro series, trying to shed their No Pros label, but so far I haven't gotten off to the first half of the season they would have liked, especially with the caliber of players on their roster. And urmumked, who just finished an undefeated legacy season, not doing quite as well in the open list of Pro, but he certainly will be a tough match for BillSnyder. So I think this is going to be a really competitive series. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, as you said, definitely the caliber of that No Pros here team is full of bona fides with all those players on the list in Agent PWE, Skittles, Base Tank, Pasca, and urmumked. But yeah, Tap Washers is an amalgamation of the two of the best previous teams in Pro in Tap Last and the Washi Mishas, or the Wishas if you prefer, as you mentioned. So either way, these are two proven teams, and these are two proven players going at it tonight. So as you can see, we've got a Demon Hunter, a Druid, a Band Paladin, and a Warrior for BillSnyder, and urmumked's got a Demon Hunter, a Paladin, Priest, and a Band Warrior. So we're going to go ahead and show you those decks, since as you mentioned, we have the benefit of the open deck list. So I'm going to pop those up on screen for everyone to see. All right. So on the left, you can see BillSnyder's deck. He's got the classic ramp paladin that we've been seeing all over the ladder. I'm sure everyone has.
Classic.
Yeah, there's slightly different variations. Like he's got the strongman in that list, which doesn't show up in every list, but that's been a popular pick. He's got the ETC Rush Warrior with the that's the. No, he's got the Paladin band, so we're not seeing the Ramp Paladin, but we will see the Warrior potentially tonight. We will see this Druid, which is a Treant token Druid. It's more token than Treant. It doesn't have like Goru or anything like that. And then we've got a Soul DH. So urmumked's decks, if you want to take us through those, Icicles.
Yeah, so urmumked, he does have his Warrior banned out, which was a pretty aggressive Enraged Warrior list that was running the Natural Boost Poisons, 2 Korkrons, so Bomb Wranglers. We won't be seeing that today. What we will be seeing is the OTK Demon Hunter, the classic Broom Paladin. This one actually is a classic, unlike our cheese Paladin friend over there on the Snyder side. And the Highlander Priest. And the Highlander Priest is running double weapon tech with Acidic Swamp Ooze and the Cobalt Sticky Finger, and otherwise looks like a pretty straightforward Highlander Priest list. So gonna see some variety here. No two decks are the same across these two players, so should make for an interesting match.
Absolutely. I'm going to let these players know that we're ready for them, but any last second predictions before we do that?
I predict this goes to 5 games, and I think we get a really good series out of it.
All right, somewhat generic prediction. I know you like to usually test your metal there in the prediction arena. I promise not to spoil any bans in our Legacy Series match tonight, so I can let you get a full prediction there this
Yeah,
evening.
no, I think to get a little more into it. I mean the matchups are going to be pretty close. There's a couple that both players are going to be looking to avoid, but overall, I think a lot of these games could go either way. And with the caliber of these two players, I do expect them to be pretty evenly matched. So I don't see any glaring weaknesses on either side here. So I do expect this to be a really close series.
All right, so they're about to get started. We will have BillSnyder on the bottom of your screen and urmumked on the top when we get into the game. Trying to see if they have started yet.
I got eyeballs.
There we go. All right. And as always, praying for no spec bugs on the way in.
So far, so good. Looks like we've got urmumked on his Boom Paladin against BillSnyder on the Soul Demon Hunter. So this matchup generally favors the Paladin, but it's definitely not unwinnable for the Demon Hunter. They are able to hit a sweet spot in the middle of the game, potentially if the Paladin's not able to find healing, that they're able to push enough damage through. But decent start for urmumked here. And throws back a Transfer Oracle into the deck. Picks up that big healing that I just mentioned as being a key card in this matchup for the Paladin.
And we see Il'gynoth come into hand for BillSnyder. Very much a key card in the matchup for the Demon Hunter as well. So it's nice to have that there. And he's got that skull on the left side of it, so at least it won't brick that for him as we get into the later turns.
And he was able to find that Consume Magic off the Eldar Studies, which is a really good card against Paladin.
Extremely good. BillSnyder considering the option here. It looked like he quickly moused over the Chaos Strike before just taking a few seconds to think about what else he could possibly do. Good pickup there with the Mana Feeder Panthara, as you want to be able to use that on turn 3. And he'll go ahead and take some damage off of that Safety Inspector, but it's still alive.
Yeah, the main problem for him is the card draw. urmumked being able to get a couple draws off this Blessing of Wisdom is really nice. And now has some options here as to what he does next and getting more draw off the hand of Adal. I mean, this is a really good start for the Paladin. Basically everything he would have wanted to this point.
Yeah, I think we saw that brief hesitation from urmumked as he might have been considering, do I hand Adal the Safety Inspector to keep it alive? Because odds are that he knows that BillSnyder intends to kill it right here, which is exactly what's going to happen with that Panthara. So he opted to take the damage right away by placing it on the Eldar Attendant instead. Felt like he had enough card draw at this time, didn't really care with to keep that alive. He does have Salad's Pride in hand too, so I can completely understand that line.
Yeah, at this point, if you're the Paladin, you have no problem just pushing pressure here. You make the Demon Hunter respond to you, make it be a little more defensive. It just gives you more time to get to the late game bombs because, like I mentioned, the sweet spot for the Demon Hunter's in the middle of the game, and if the Paladin's putting out this much pressure, there's no guarantee that the Demon Hunter's even able to do that on the backswing. So this is a really great start for the Paladin. So.
Alderachi Warblade's a pickup, but BillSnyder's going to go ahead and use a different weapon. The Marrow Slicer gets a few of those soul fragments into the deck and potentially sets him up here for that skull next turn. But right now he will take care of that Eldar Attendant using the hero power in addition to the weapon. And I think he's getting a little bit dangerous on health there, but he's got some tools in hand. And we're going to have to see if maybe he, I don't know if he can feel comfortable just using that skull next turn, depending on what is on the board.
Yeah, generally speaking, the one kind of caveat to that is the Paladin doesn't generally have a lot of reach, especially not yet, not until they hit the turn, 6 or 7 with specific weapons. So I think they'll be able to make that choice with maybe a little bit of comfort-ish. The Pinpointer is about as much extra damage as urmumked's going to be able to push here. So I think he's probably going to be in a position will be to play that skull. Basically, will be now or never. Just because this is going to be the last turn he has this little threat on the board.
Reporting for duty.
And urmumked, not too big of an impactful turn, like you said there. Not a whole lot of bursts in hand, so or in the deck to be sure. So BillSnyder probably feels a little bit more comfortable playing the skull here, and you never know, you might be able to get something playable immediately off of it. And I think that's going to be the play.
I think you have to, because if you don't skull now, you're never going to be able to. And I think it may
I
just give you
know
enough
there's a
of
way.
a resource advantage potentially to claw your way back into this game. I mean, you're in a really desperate spot at this moment anyway, so I think you kind of have to go for it at this time.
And he does pick up 2 cards that are playable immediately in Illidari Studies and Chaos Strike. He's going to go ahead and use the Illidari. Interesting choices here. Spectral Sight, Dreadlord's Bite, and then Star Student Selena. He goes with the weapon, so he's got another weapon in hand now. And you've got to imagine that he's probably going to be looking at using the Warblades to heal next turn. And might want to keep that Chaos Strike for that.
Yeah, there's not a lot of value to doing it now. There's an extra 2 base damage is not as consequential as that extra 2 healing could be next turn. Having to burn the Consume Magic in this turn kind of hurts a little bit. I think it's probably the right call just to avoid burning a card, but most likely your monk is playing a taunt on this turn, whether it's the weapon or the Aldor Truthseeker. So that Eldrazi Chaos Strike combo that Bill's looking at is going to be just that little worse for wear. Given
Well, he
what
does
your
have the
monk has.
Relentless Pursuit in hand as well.
True.
So
Yeah,
I mean, it
and
doesn't
with
feel
the
great to
big
burn
Chaos
that,
Strike.
but it's going to be at least something that keeps him alive, and might be able to get. Will he be able to get both Bladed Ladies down too? If he, yeah, because if he Relentless Pursuits, then he's going to have 6 or more attacks. So this could be a pretty big swing turn.
The only problem with that is he won't be able to play the Eldrazi if he goes that route.
Oh,
He
he'd
won't have
have
the
to
mana.
play one. Yeah, you're right. Because they reduce to 1. They're not zeros. I'm thinking Corridor Creeper style, which is just giving me PTSD at this point.
Yeah, I think this is probably fine. Clearing out the 6/6 healing for at least 6, maybe 8 if he decides to go with the Chaos Strike, and then next turn being able to follow up the Lapidary and the Bladed Ladies.
Exactly.
This is that mid game swing that Demon Hunter is capable of. So we'll see what Untitled has next turn because this is going to be looking at a pretty big turn from Bill coming up.
Yeah, just getting up to 14 health should make him feel comfortable enough at this point that he's not going to be immediately dead. Only representing 6 damage on board, and it's very hard pressed to think that Penflingers would be able to do the remaining damage. And we do see mostly a tempo play from your Mumked plays that Truthseeker and a Braggart just for 4/6. I mean, that's a pretty modest Braggart, but it's enough to be threatening.
This sets up really well for the Bladed Ladies. So expect Chaos Strike, Lapidary, both Bladed Ladies, and then he'll still have like 3 mana left over
Without a
to
doubt.
figure something out. So be able to clear out both these 4/6s, push pretty decent amount of damage, 9 damage at least, depending on what else he uses. Maybe he can just hero powers for that extra
Oh, and a
damage.
second Warblades. Keeps that Il'gynoth a possibility as well going into the potential lethal turns.
Yeah,
And
so
a big
here's the so now Paladin has a couple choices. The risky play, even though it doesn't sound that risky, is playing a Libram here. You can clear most of this board if you play both Pinflingers out. I think you can clear all but maybe the 5/5 and then heal up pretty substantially. You know that Consume Magic's not in the deck. And he actually doesn't run Kane either in Bill's list. So if you go with the Libram, you know it can only be cleared by minions and swings. You can't just whip right past it. But I like this. I think this is a really good kind of mix of getting the big taunt down and clearing the board since you have a board left to deal with it. So good use of the Librams there.
Yeah, I definitely like that as well. And BillSnyder has a little bit of positioning issues with the hand now, with Il'gynoth blocking off the left side. He's got Skullguldan in hand, but it's kind of blocked off on the right. And drawing again will now continue to have it further blocked off. So really just kind of an awkward hand construction there, and Militia doesn't have any Soul Fragments in deck at this point to be of any use to him.
Yeah, I mean, Bill kind of had his moment to shine, but ultimately it wasn't enough. It was basically enough to keep him alive, but it wasn't enough to take control of this game. And your Mumkid's still well positioned to kind of close it out, especially drawing a second Leave Him with Hope. Has the option for Lady Leadrin as well after this, but I think we're going to see the second Leave Him come down here.
Yeah, no major threats on board at this point, and if you're your Mumked, you definitely want to be looking to continue to close this game out. No need to give BillSnyder any chance to crawl back in with any of the lifesteal shenanigans that Il'gynoth is capable of. And you see the Og Merchant, that was an early pickup on first day of school, not a card that's natively in the deck, of course. We'll see the... does he want to give the spell damage, I guess, to his opponent? Pretty rare to see that would bite him, but you never know.
Yeah, I think it's better than getting rid of his Divine Shield.
I agree with that.
Bill's running Chaos Novas, which is something.
Well, there's what's Chaos Nova.
That's the only thing, but I mean, even that's not really going to do much. I think Bill's just out of options here. I don't know if there's any way he can climb out of this. Can't heal enough. Trading off that, I guess Bill will kill one.
Yeah, he can.
Amount. But knowing those Pimp Fingers are coming back down, not sure that quite gets him there.
No, because even healing 6 here, or 7 at max if he Chaos Novas and then uses the hero power, that's only going to put him to 11.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, with weapon plus the 8/8 plus the 2 Penflingers he knows to be in hand, it's just lethal, unfortunately for Bill.
Valiant effort, a nice push in the middle of the game, but just not enough to get over the Paladin's early start and overwhelming advantage with both Librams picked up towards the end. So game 1, you it.
It was all over, just had to be made official. The final blow there from the weapon. As you said, your Mumked will go up 1-0 and keep NPH's hopes alive as we move into game 2 here. So this being our Pro Series, this is a Conquest Series, so we will not see that Paladin again. It has done its job, it's gotten its win, and now we could still see the Demon Hunter. Do you think Bill will run the Demon Hunter back this game here, or do you expect to see something different against the potential Demon Hunter or Priest of your Mumked?
Yeah, setting up against Priest and Warrior, it's kind of tough. Demon Hunter might still be a decent option. It's going to be slightly unfavored against the Warrior. Might be favored against the Priest, I think, still. The other decks he has, Druid's going to have a tough time against the Warrior, I think. His Warrior is favored into the Warrior, but he really doesn't want to run to the Priest. So kind of becomes a guessing game as to what he thinks your Mumked's going to queue up, and hopefully he picks right. But not going to be a fun game one way or the other. So especially if he guesses wrong. Demon Hunter might just be the safe choice again, though.
Yeah, a lot of consideration here as we are waiting for the decision to be made public and we go into game 2. And here it is, and as you said, we are going to see that Demon Hunter. We're going to see a Demon Hunter v Demon Hunter here in game 2.
Yeah, so I had said the Warrior, excuse me, it was not the Warrior, it's going to be the Demon Hunter. So I think Demon Hunter definitely makes sense here against either the Lifesteal Demon Hunter or the Highlander Priest of your Mumked. Soul Demon Hunter is definitely the choice. So my bad, forgot that the Warrior was banned. Apologies.
We will forgive you just this once.
Thank
you get
you.
one pass each night that we cast.
Good. Can't wait till I screw up again.
Well, I'll let chat handle that one if it does come to that. I promise to be nice. So slight variance here, of course, as we mentioned at the top. This is an OTK Demon Hunter for your Mumked. He's got Il'gynoth in hand, and you love to see that. He's got a lot of pieces that can let him draw with Chaos Strike and Double Jump, so it'll be interesting to see here. But Il'gynoth in hand does, again, create issues where if you don't use Double Jump on the turn where you want to play Skull, it could be very bad if you never get to use that, or have to really work hard to get the discount.
Yeah, I think the most important thing for your Mumked here is to not draw Skull until turn 6. Because if he does, it's going to be stuck. Because he's never going to be able to play from the left. And it'll be very difficult for him to play from the right. So I think you still draw because you still need to get through your deck. But you just really have to hope that that Skull is not one of those draws in the next 4 or 5 turns.
Demons? Demons.
And your Mumked considering here the possibilities. Chaos Strike. Usually the turn 2 play, it looks like that's going to be the decision.
From Bill's side, I mean, his hand's fine-ish. You have some of the key cards. You have the Marrow Slicer, you have the Skull.
Second Skull.
And you have both Skulls. So he'll most likely very cleanly be able to get that Skull there on the west side of his hand, ready to go by turn 6. You can turn 5 potentially.
Yeah, with the coin plus the Skull, Marrow Slicer almost certainly coming down on turn 4. I think that's probably a likely course of action. And with the Twin Slice in hand, we're already starting to see BillSnyder form that burst that really makes this deck scary because, you know, it can just kill you from hand out of nowhere a lot of the time, even with minimal board presence. So that's we got a second Twin Slice off the top there. That's just a lot of damage.
And the tricky thing too for the lifesteal demon hunter in this matchup is, generally you stay alive by clearing out the opponent's minions. Sometimes you use an early um, ice cream or I-beam, excuse me, and Bellscream Blast. And with the exception of this 1/3, generally the Soul Demon Hunter can just kill you without playing too many minions to allow you to do that. So they're not reliant on their minions sticking for the damage. They get the damage from the battle cries or from the weapons and weapon buffs. So Untitled might have, depending on how this game goes, a little bit more difficult time healing than he otherwise would against some matchups.
No hesitation from BillSnyder. They're using that Marrow Slicer as we expected. And he's just going to continue to be the aggressor in this matchup, as I would as well, with the way his hand is made up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're the aggressor anyway, and the way this hand is shaped up for him, it's absolutely correct.
So that Feldscreen Blast pickup for your Mumked is key to this this win condition, but right now not a whole lot he can do with it.
I don't even know if he can do anything here.
Yeah, this is tough.
You don't really want to play out the ethereal. I mean, if you're concerned about potential hand size, because you're sitting on 7 cards right now, you'll draw an 8th card and a 9th card, which will make your double jump into skull a little bit trickier. He is rewarded for the double jump with the special sight, so
at least continues to draw and does not pick up anything that would really be a problem.
Yeah, that worked out about as well as could be expected. That was always going to be a tough turn. Did not get punished for the double jump, getting a skull before he wanted it. So having something to do is better than doing nothing. So that worked out for urmumked. Although I still think he's in a tough spot this game.
Bill will opt to coin out that left skull, get the discount, and it's going to be Panthara, Militia, and a Lapidary. Oh, a cheap Lapidary to go along with the other one in hand. 4 Soul Fragments in deck, so odds are pretty good that he'll be able to activate both of those.
That is 13 damage for 6 mana currently between the Lapidary and the 2 Twin Slices. So a lot of damage that is going to be available to Bill here very soon.
Now, is there any merit to not swinging? I don't really see any reason not to at this point.
The only thing maybe is to give yourself a chance to play Flayaway if you draw it a little bit easier without having to commit as many resources to it. But I mean, realistically, I think you're fine swinging there because you're just as likely to draw another weapon. So
yeah, my thought is that you're less considerate of that just because of the fact that you don't really need it to win. I mean, you've got the tools you need to win at this point, and you know that your Mumked's not running anything taunt-wise or anything outside of lifesteal stuff he doesn't want to use, just because that makes it harder for him to win in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And Consume does get a draw here, picks up an Illidari Studies.
Yeah, I could see potentially a Studies and maybe even a Philosophy here, just to use the mana. Could also be considering his life total and maybe swinging with the Eldrazi as well for the hero power. A couple different options open to your Mumked here, depending on how he feels at this point in the game. 13 or 17 life certainly doesn't seem like you're teetering on the edge of death, but then again, he probably knows this old Demon Hunter list as well as anyone, and can't be too comfortable sitting at that life total. Plus, it's nice to kill a minion.
He gets rid of the minion, puts a minion of his own down.
I think it's most likely for hand space, because I think next turn he really wants to do the double jump into the skull. But this play by BillSnyder is going to make that really tough, putting this much pressure on the board. And I think urmumked's going to be forced into a defensive answer instead.
Yeah, I was going to say, even what urmumked can see is extremely distressing, and that's not even counting the double Twin Slice in hand for 8 damage, the other Lapidary that he can't use in conjunction with the Twin Slices, but that's just a lot of damage coming out. But we're going to see, it looks like the Philosophy into the Artificer probably use a little bit of sorry.
No, you're fine. The Philosophy off the right is huge because it allows him to play the Artificer first in Immolation, or the Artificer lives, and you can follow that up with the Bellscream on 2 minions that survive.
That's exactly what we're going to see.
Yeah, it would have been challenged a little bit, maybe potentially leaving the minion alive otherwise, but this worked out pretty well for him. because he still hasn't drawn the skull, he still has the double jump into skull potential available. There are other outcast cards in the deck, so he's not guaranteed to get skull off of the double jump. There's another special side, there's another I-beam, and he's drawn both philosophies. So the odds are 50-50 at this point that he gets one of those skulls, but it looks like he's going to have a little bit of breathing room to do it with BillSnyder taking a little bit more of a passive turn, just setting up for more resources. But oh my gosh, that's going to be a ton of damage coming back. More damage for free. Just crazy. So what are we looking at now? We've got 6 for free, and then 8 for 4. So that's 14 for 4, plus I guess he'd use the cheap lapidary. So it's pretty significant.
And a top deck Il'gynoth makes all of this moot as well, because you can play the Eldrachi Warblades, just double that damage straight up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so urmumked unfortunately loses the 50-50, plays the double jump, does not get the skull. So we'll have to see if he can find it the old-fashioned way.
Still digging.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him. I mean, he's getting close to the amount of damage that he needs, with Bill sitting at 21 life. He's got now 2 damage dealers in hand. He's going to be able to philosophy this other Molar. So now it'll just be a question of mana. So you might want to get rid of the special sight out of his hand, so that when he gets to the point where he can play Il'gynoth, Molarg, the I-beam will be outcast to play that for cheap. So he's getting close to being able to pull this game out, actually.
Yeah, I think that's one of the interesting things about not only just this Demon Hunter, but Demon Hunter in general is planning ahead for these outcast cards and making sure there's the skull, as you would hope there. But planning ahead to make sure that those future turns, when you want to be able to play those cards, you're setting yourself up at the right time for them to be discounted, or to proc their outcast benefit.
Yeah, the healing from Bill is actually really important here. Setting up with the next turn, but also putting him out of any potential range.
Right.
Urmumked still needed one more turn for the mana to be able to do that, but he would have been able to do, I think, 24 damage from hand with what he was sitting on. So, but unfortunately, I think this is going to be his last turn, unless he...
Yeah, it's a bit of a prayer right here. Oh, picks up
the
skull, nothing...
It won't be enough. Just the twin slices alone are more than enough to push lethal damage with this 5-2 surviving.
If he Illidari studies into an I-beam.
Into an I-beam, yeah, this is his one out.
Or Glide. Well, Glide is not playable, but Glide is a fun card that actually, in this case, would help if he had more mana.
Sure. Yeah. Glide's an exciting card that is not exciting in this particular moment.
I know, I just saw it and saw what it represented,
yeah.
But then I did the quick math in my head where the number 4 is larger than the number 1, which is the amount of mana he has left.
Right. I mean, even if he had the mana for Glide, it probably just prolongs the inevitable, because it would also get rid of his hand, which right now is set up pretty well for that closing burst, but then giving even more time for Bill to find the damage, which the Soul Dealer has in spades. Would have been rough. So
I think the one thing I would say in counter to that is, extending your time is better than ending your time.
True.
Also, urmumked still has skull discounts or at least a skull discount to have acquired some cards that BillSnyder did not. He's already used both of those skulls, so it might have been enough. It was unlikely that it was enough, but again, anything greater than 0% chance is better than just being dead. But in this case, urmumked is just dead, unfortunately.
I'm curious how much of his hand plays out to show just how much damage he was sitting on. Opts to go with just a couple cards, with plenty still left over.
If nothing else, he can watch the stream later and know just exactly what situation he was in.
Yeah. So game 2 goes to Bill. I had 1-1.
All right, so both Demon Hunters getting the job done here in the first 2 games.
We still have a Demon Hunter left for urmumked. So that was your one. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry. Yes,
no,
you're
right. You're good. We did see a lot of Demon Hunter in his first 2 games. So now we're left with urmumked still has that Lifesteal Demon Hunter as well as his Highlander Priest. And Bill has a ETC Control Warrior and a Gibberling Token Druid, which is what we're going to see against the Priest. So this is pretty interesting. I mean, that's not a bad start for Bill, having the Gibberling and the Lightning Bloom and the Total Infestation being on the coin. This is going to get real fun, real fast for one of these players.
I was gonna say he's hoping he picks up something useful to play with that lightning bloom, and he does with that power of the wild. This is explosive.
Pretty nuts. So I'm curious then, urmumked, if he plays the Zeph on 2, is Zeph going to give him the Lightning Storm, which is about as good an answer as he can possibly have going into turn 3? I'm curious if that's what the play's going to be. I mean, you almost have to. It's the only chance you have.
I think it's either that or Zephyrus will just press the concede button for urmumked. Might be the only other thing it can do at this point, because that is about as good a first turn as you can expect with this deck.
Yeah, so BillSnyder won't have a second turn. He won't have any mana. I think you just have to pray that Zeph is smart enough to give you Lightning Storm here for turn 3. So let's see. I'm curious.
How smart is Zeph? There it is.
All right.
We could have turned that into like a trivia game, like Are You Smarter Than a Zephyrus the Great?
I will tell you from my experience today, I am absolutely smarter than Zephyrus. Based on my experience against Markshire. Yeah, so, but this worked out for urmumked. Zeph did deliver the card that he wanted, so he at least has a chance this game.
Bill was considering whether or not to get rid of the Zephyrus. He does, but Lightning Storm, it was a smart move because Lightning Storm was going to get rid of that minion anyway. And he does high roll at least and keep the one Gibberling alive at 3-1.
Yeah, that's not bad. Nice little refill to Fund of Fortunes. I mean, this is still going to be a pretty uphill battle for the Priest, but sitting on a Penance, sitting on a couple minions, yeah, it's not out of the woods, and Apotheosis is a nice pickup as well. So we'll see if urmumked's able to claw something back out of this game after that explosive start from Bill.
And this being a Highlander Priest obviously saw Zephyrus there. A little bit of less consistency as far as drawing your cards as the Priest, but Bill knows that there's a chance that Zephyrus comes back with a raised dead, so I'm sure urmumked is going to try to keep the amount of minions somewhat to a minimum to, if he can draw that card, get what he wants back into his hand. However, he doesn't really have the luxury of time because Bill's going to continue to pump out a lot of threats here over the next few turns.
Not getting the best discovers. None of these cards you really want. Give the Wild, I guess, synergizes with your deck to some degree, even though by the time you can play it, it's likely the Priest has stabilized enough to deal with anything that you throw out there.
It was definitely the best choice, I think, out of the ones offered. But yeah, it's on the lower end of the scale.
Right. So we'll see how much he's able to refill the board. A couple 3-2s coming out just to try to keep up some amount of pressure. So see, I wouldn't be surprised if urmumked just goes for a one-maker Apotheosis, because for the most part, the Druid is not going to have any burn other than the Lunar Eclipse. So there's a decent chance that you'd be forced to punch into it. But going with Palm Reading first, nothing here you really want. Power, like, I guess, but not. I don't know. I might be incentivized to take Thought Seal and
Thought Seal, I think, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, at least it gives you future or further options to possibly pick up something useful, whereas, the other two are, you're probably dead by the time you get a meaningful mass res off. And, what does Power Word Shield really
pick up here?
Amazing pickup. So I guess that would be the Power Word Shield. That's what you would want it for.
Right. But I mean, even a one-mana Thought Steal is fine, because you're likely to get some cheap spells that you can play from the Druid deck also. Interbase Lightning Blooms, things like that. Nature Studies even to keep that chain going, but now you just want to see Bill play a whole bunch of minions on this turn so that you can maximize the healing from the Pyro Apotheosis combo. Again, not greatest options here. I guess the Arborist synergizes with your deck somewhat because it puts some tokens out, but it's not really what Bill's looking for. I mean, he doesn't know it, but it isn't terrible for him right now that he's not going to be able to fill this board more than 4 minions. But let's see, I guess he may opt to play out both the woman and the treant, but opts to hold the innervate. So
yeah, there's enough on the board right now with Savage Roar that it is a very extreme threat to urmumked. So I can see you got to probably use the Wild Pyro here. Yeah, he's going to go ahead and do that.
Sure. Yeah, it's worked out pretty well for urmumked. But yeah, you make a point about Bill pulling back a little bit because he knows this is at this point going to be kind of a grind fest, and you kind of need to grind the Priest out of resources, which is easier said than done. But it starts with not always playing out everything you can every turn.
Bill does have the method to get rid of this here. Unfortunately, it comes at the expense of both Lunar Eclipses being used. Also, urmumked, with his Thought Steal, actually can turn himself into a bit of a Token Druid if he would like to, with that Armor Up and Dreamway Guardians.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty good turn next turn, so we'll see if he opts to go that direction.
Now, with a Lucy in hand, I'm wondering if you're urmumked, is there ever a situation where you want to really use that? I mean, you're pretty much always going to have a hand advantage from this point forward, and he does turn into the Token Druid here this turn. So I think that Lucy is probably not going to get a whole lot of use.
Well, so here's what's going to happen. So Bill's going to play this here, and he's got a card he's had in his hand basically since the beginning of the game. It probably is a little too cute for urmumked to want to play it now, especially with minions off the board. But that's you're thinking to yourself that he's got a Savage Ward waiting for you. So at some point when Savage Ward is lethal, then you're playing the Lucia, and then you're winning the game. Oh, he's just going for it now.
He's mousing it now, and I don't know why.
Too many resources. No, he has too many resources. And this might be okay for him, but he's giving Bill things to do next turn, which I am skeptical of. So, like, it's nice to get rid of this average. Like, that's a big win, but and maybe you're thinking that there's nothing in your hand that's that impactful. So even though you're giving Bill something to do, nothing's good enough. But I mean, I would have liked to just play the stuff that I was holding.
And I mean, like, where does Renew take us? Obviously, it's going to be the lead here. And, okay. You know, Druid spells instead. Moonfire, yeah, you want to go ahead and get that out of your hand this turn, so that's not helpful to him.
You don't pick the one, see?
So I guess you take Circus just because you can play it now.
Right.
And then you can Moonfire, and then you can Resizing Pouch and get maybe a Dusk Imp. Just to use it.
Yeah, those Weapon Destruction not going to get a whole lot of use in urmumked's hand, but okay.
Yeah, so I mean, Bill did fine with that hand. You know, not too damaging. So now urmumked has Bill at 0 cards in hand, which is right where you want to be as the priest. None of this is that great, but I mean, you just kind of play out the minions probably. I think this is pretty good for the priest at this point.
Not much use for that Sticky Finger outside of just a 4/4 body. He goes ahead and plays that with the Nazmani. And Bill's looking for something that can give him a little bit of leverage here. No, it's not.
You can really put it on mine at least, and have something that urmumked's going to have to answer. But with Savage Ward gone, urmumked's not quite under as much of a threat as he otherwise would have been. Steri's a nice pickup.
A very nice pickup.
So the question is, do you take the chance that, I guess if you're going to play Steri, you play it first to increase the odds that it kills either the 4/1 or the other 4/3. So I guess he's just going to hold it for now and wait and play the Ooze. Okay.
Ooze, yeah, the Ooze, yeah, exactly. So. The Ooze trades to the 4/3 just fine. I think you're more than happy with that. And in case he does something where he buffs the 4/3, you have the Shadow or Death.
Yeah. Not enough bees to kill the 4/3 to place the stereo on it, so BillSnyder's hanging around this game. Priest is going to need to pick up something to do here. Soulmeter's not bad. The question is, do you play it now or do you just take the 6 damage? I guess you're under threat of another Savage Roar wouldn't be lethal, Arbor Up would be lethal, so you're not in danger of dying next turn if you opt to just heal and wait. So you might be looking to maybe a little greedier with the Soul Mirror and see if Bill can push a little more.
The airiest of draws for BillSnyder with the Innervate.
Yeah, not really looking for. So, but I think it worked out just because your monk is holding the Soul Mirror. Not that Bill knows that, but you know, just pushing 6 a turn is fine.
Now, do you want to, you don't want to use this Sethek in Hysteria, I'd imagine. I mean, if you do, you're using it on a 1/1.
Right.
just
So
to
this
just to
might just
start
be a Soul
generating.
Meteor. Yeah,
Yeah.
Soul Meteor and play the Sethic behind it. So there's not a lot of cards that Bill would have drawn from his deck and not played. Innervate is
Right.
probably top
Lightning
of that
Bloom.
list.
Yep.
So yeah, I think anything else would have been played.
And there's the Savage Roar again. Not
Maybe
the
Goldfly.
turn too late. Not helpful in this case at all.
Yeah. So if you're a Monkey, I mean, at this point you can probably just wait. Just keep healing, wait for Bill to play something, and then deal with it as it comes. But yeah, Bill's just getting all the buffs for no minions. He needs to draw Glowfly, Fungal Fortunes would be nice, Rising Winds would be nice. Even a Chipperling, maybe you get a few minions on the board, but yeah, it's looking pretty rough for him. By the time he's able to draw something, to put something on the board, it's likely the priest is going to have whatever he needs to deal with it.
Yeah, every turn that goes by at this point is more answers your Mumked has to draw against BillSnyder. And, Bill's got a lot of useful cards. Like, the percentage draw that he gets something useful is growing, and it's still not happening for him. The Lightning Bloom is also extremely unfortunate, but now he can't even use the hero power to go face.
And the one thing for Bill is that the priest isn't going to kill him anytime soon. And right now the priest just has a couple answers that are a little more awkward. So let's say he draws the Glowfly Swarm next turn, then all of a sudden he's got 4 3/3s with the Power of the Wild, excuse me, and it's looking not terrible. So that being said, you're going to play on a couple more minions. It's gonna slowly accelerate this clock. So now that Bill's dead in 10 turns instead of 20.
Dreamway Guardians, the first card that BillSnyder would be, I guess, somewhat happy to see, 4 turns ago. But at this point, yeah, you would be wasting it playing it into the Acolyte.
Pretty big pickup for your Milkhead there. So whenever Bill does inevitably find some semblance of a board, it's now completely answered by the 2 AoEs.
And
Bees
Bees
isn't terrible. And clear out the Sethic. I guess you could also choose to clear the Taunt if you really want to, but I think you probably want to get rid of the Sethic.
Yeah, the Sethic is the bigger problem for sure.
It's the one thing that can potentially give your Monkhead resources that he kind of currently doesn't have. So yeah, I don't mind killing that instead. I played that's another big pickup. I mean, you're right. Like the longer this game goes, the more time your Monkhead has to find all the answers. So yeah, even though BillSnyder is accumulating cards that could potentially be useful at some point, it's unlikely that anything's going to stick. His list isn't running Soul of the Forest. He's used at least one. No, he's used both nature studies, so doesn't have a way of generating it. So he will only be able to put whatever he gets on the board. And Gibberling gives him an option here to start doing something if he wants to.
And I think he has to.
I mean, he doesn't. It's tough. Like it kind of feels like he has to, but at the same time, the priest is doing 2 damage a turn. The threat from the priest is what we're seeing your Monkhead doing, which is drawing all these answers. So from Bill's perspective, he kind of just has to wait until he has a critical mass or something. I think he's just waiting for the blowflies at this point. I think that's the only thing that.
Yeah, I guess if you do this Gibberling turn and then you find the bad news against your Monkhead's AoE-ridden hand, the game just ends at that point because Glowfly is never anything overwhelming, and you might as well just concede. And there is Glowfly, so at least the patience does pay off in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, this is something. Saving the Dreamway to potentially pair with the Gibberling in a future turn. So we'll see what your Monkhead does to answer this. If he opts to go with maybe Holy Nova and Breath here, or looks to get a little more creative. But I think that's probably the easiest thing. Could also opt to Hysteria potentially, run the Mind Flayer with the Broom into something. There's a couple different ways that your Monkey could approach this to save that AoE if he feels like it. But the easy play is obviously just Breath and Holy Nova and push 2 more damage. I think with that Galakron pickup, your Monkey now feels like he's in a really good position. Like he probably felt okay. Anyway,
I was gonna say I don't know if he ever felt like he
this,
wasn't with the way BillSnyder was just hero power each turn.
Right, but at the same time, like, you know, there's a world where maybe Bill gets Glowfly back to back, and then does a dribbling turn, and then you don't have that last answer for it. But I think this is, I think we're just running out the clock on this one for the priest. So we'll see how long Bill wants to stick it out. But this is a pretty rough swing for his final pickup of the Glowfly.
Now you've seen the AoE get used right there, 2 AoEs in fact. He's probably just going to go ahead at this point and do a little hand dump. But if he doesn't, the clock continues to run.
Yeah. So he's got 4 cards left in his deck. We've got an Innervate, and we've got the I think the other Innervate and the other Glowfly, the other Arbor up. So yeah, I think this probably makes sense instead of waiting for Glowfly. This is kind of the best you're gonna do with this dribbling. So might as well try. Like I said, you just saw a bunch of AoE, so might as well. Hopefully,
he does keep 3 spells in hand too. So if the Glowfly gets drawn, it's not completely dead,
something.
but yeah, it's something. Yeah. And was that? No, it's a Disciplinary Gambling. I just saw 4 mana legendary. No, it's Gambling. Trying to think what use that will really have for your Mumked, not other than a body.
Yeah, not too much. I mean, you can the broom still gives everything else rush, and then turns into a 4/4 that doesn't have rush. But I think this is he's using the broom to, you know, as much of this as possible is pretty good. So
yeah, there's no way he loses this game. There's no way your Mumked loses this game if he keeps the board clear. So that is fine. And Fungal Fortunes is way too little, too late.
Yeah, he can go ahead and deck himself here.
Oh no.
Play out
My
the
train of cards is gone.
Glowfly that he's going to draw, and potentially Arbor up also, or he could just Glowfly plus 2 3/2s, and then
yeah, I think you Arbor up here.
Ray. Yeah, I think Arbor up's probably fine. It lets you kill one thing and put out as threatening a board as you can, but
Plague of Death is a card.
Plague of Death ends the game, right?
Right.
You know the last 2 cards, Savage Roar and Rising Winds, so just push this damage face, play Plague of Death, and move on to game 4. I guess Bill, in theory, could play both the 3/2s, and maybe there's not an answer. But as we see, your Mumked sitting on Hysteria, which will guarantee this game ends.
Yeah, I always respect the play it out method. You never know what can happen. In this case, what's going to happen is one more turn of bad news for BillSnyder, but you got to try.
Victory is
And
Your
there
player,
it is.
you your last Savage Roar stuck in your hand, and the first Savage Roar was stolen by the priest. Just totally rude priest gameplay.
Yeah, for a deck that has so many options to go fast, it just really never came together that game for BillSnyder. A lot of really unfortunate draws, especially in that mid game where they both players were fairly starved for resources. You know, priest tends to have tons of cards at hand, just only had like 2 or 3, but couldn't take advantage of it.
I mean, Bill had the perfect start, but then your Mumked had the perfect answer. And that was enough to get Priest to the point of the game where they were able to find those AoEs and just keep the Druid frustrated. So,
well, we're going to see that Druid one more time, and we're going to see your Mumked's OTK Demon Hunter, as that's all he has left. And talk about a deck that has a lot of ways to answer the Druid. You don't want to use them all, because you do like to have enough for the OTK at some point, but like Immolation Aura is a great card to have in the opening hand there for your Mumked.
yeah. Definitely. I think this is still pretty favored for the Druid overall, because I think you are able to, in the first 3 or 4 turns, build more boards than the Demon Hunter can answer.
Right.
And also, by doing that, you're preventing the Demon Hunter from accumulating their own resources and drawing as much as they want to, so that you have a little more time, potentially, to get what you need, assuming you don't just completely brick like we saw in the last game. But yeah, it should be interesting having that Immolation Order to start with. So yeah, it's probably something that they'll keep in mind when he comes to his Glowfly turn, is trying to pair that with like a Power of the Wild or something, just to make sure that you have you're over that threshold at least for Immolation Order by itself, and force your Mumked to use either spell damage or a Molar to get over the 3 damage threshold. I like the hesitation by your Mumked there. He wanted a Chaos Strike, this 2/2, but then drawing a cheap Spectral Sight just makes sense to draw while you can.
Absolutely. I agree with the play. And there's Gibberling.
Yeah, I think you go for it here because you can Gibberling, Tree Enforcements, Coin, Nature Studies, and then see what you get off that, and just force an answer.
Yeah, you'll force the answer that urmumked has, unfortunately for BillSnyder, and that's going to be a little upsetting unless somehow he pulls a buff card out of nowhere. But that 1/3 is the only one that's gonna. Oh no, he tempered it quite a bit there. He could have really gone in.
Yeah. I think this is smart because obviously we have caster vision knowing that Immolation Order is in hand, but also from Bill's perspective, he knows Immolation Order is a very easy answer if he goes that wide with Gibberlings, and then it also at the same time makes his Glowfly Swarm pretty useless. Whereas now he can play Nature Studies, set up the Glowfly for the next turn, eventually get something to follow up with it on, and see where he goes from there.
Blessing the Ancients is a fantastic card.
Yeah, this works out pretty well. So, instead of saving the discount for Glowfly the next turn, just take the immediate reward of the Blessing now and force potentially an AoE before your Glowfly comes down.
Yeah, if urmumked wants to do that, he can Hero Power as well, clear the 3/3 with his face. But yeah, now BillSnyder has put himself in a position where he can coin the Glowfly. But coining the Glowfly only gets him max of 4 minions, as long as he doesn't draw Gibberling next turn. So it's not quite as potent as he would probably like it to be.
Yeah, and from Rumka's perspective, I mean, the temptation here is, again, just to hold that Immolation where you're sitting on a Moor, so you can answer a bigger board, and maybe he just wants to kill a 2/2 and just leave 2 minions on the board and try to bait Bill into going a little bit wider. But curious how this ends up playing out. It's kind of a bit of a chess match here. Both players trying to preserve as much of their resources as possible while still accomplishing their game plans. So I'm really enjoying this game so far.
Yeah, I think
the decision making.
As you said, urmumked, really the consideration is how do I answer an Arbor up board? Because if you do play that Immolation Aura now, yeah, you take care of what's on the board, which is great, but you've got the Moarg in hand. You've got the ultimate trump card in terms of clearing a really, really potent board. And if you get rid of that Immolation Aura now, you might just lose outright if Arbor up is available.
Yeah, so it looks like Bill's going to pull the trigger on something here. Dreamway into Blessing just to maybe sensing a little bit of weakness here. Still out of range of a single Immolation Aura. But yeah, this is definitely a threatening enough board that I think urmumked's going to have to pull the trigger now.
Yeah, he's doing. I think Bill's doing it right. He's trickling enough threats out there, and not going all in, so that he's devastated and blown out in the case of the Immolation Aura. But he has seen that it hasn't been played yet, so maybe he's on the hopes that it's just not a card that's in his hand. But we're gonna find out right now that it is. Though it does get rid of one of the Moargs that urmumked had in hand. He has a second thanks to the philosophy he played earlier.
Yeah, I think the one downside for Bill here is that his Glowfly is a little bit weak, but even 3 2/2s at this point isn't terrible. With urmumked sitting at 17, has to respect it, just with the threat of Savage Roar. So just play out everything at this point now. There isn't nothing. We've seen 1 AoE, so this is kind of your moment to go for
second
it. Oh wow, what a draw!
But Skull is another card. I mean, it's going to sit on that side of your hand indefinitely. So you do have future turn options with it if you don't want to use it now.
Clear it. Yeah, I don't. This is where it can be tough. So from urmumked's perspective, he's dead to Savage Roar. He doesn't clear this board.
Though. Yep.
One card is a 1/1. So how much do you consider that? And I think because the Skull's in position, because you have some of the other tools in hand, I think clearing here is correct. And just putting Bill on having more, which right now we see that Bill doesn't. So
just for clarification, I said exact lethal. I meant +1 over exact lethal because even numbers.
Wow. Yeah, rewarded from urmumked.
That's very prescient play there. As he didn't have the Savage Roar in hand, but apparently urmumked was tapped into what was happening on the top of Bill's deck, because that was exactly the right play at the right time.
And just at this moment, it would have been a great draw for Bill. Is now a terrible draw, and it really hurts. So
yeah, it's one of those things that the Druid's never seen a Savage Roar that it hasn't liked, but at the same time, Bill tonight has seen 3 of them that he has been very upset by.
Yeah. So And now this just gives a little breathing room for the DH to come back into this game and start picking up what they need to win.
Yeah, isn't it the way with Demon Hunter? It just seems to get there enough, but Fungal Fortunes might turn the table.
Yeah, needs to pick up something that gives him a
All
board
right.
here.
Bees
The bees
will
isn't
be
terrible.
Yeah. I mean, he already had bees
Probably-
in hand, but yeah, you start with the draw for sure.
Right, and then probably follow up with Nature Studies to set up for next turn.
I was thinking that or the Marsul Cub if you want to just have maximum board, because you could always Nature Studies next turn. But
I think it's Nourish here for draw for
yeah.
next turn.
I think right now Bill seeing what happened last game and just not having the resources to compete, Nourish is one of those cards that can absolutely keep you in the game.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious if Urmumked will play one of these Hog Merchants to kill a bee, or if he's that concerned with it. It makes sense to just play the Bell Screamer here and the Blood Mage test the board that way. And actually gonna swing into a bee. Okay, that's not bad, because I think like similar to the last game, the Druid's only threatening with the board, so the face damage for the Demon Hunter is irrelevant. It's really just keeping stuff from being out there.
And yet again rewarded because the Arbor Up would have been even more potent had he left the minion on board. But bees plus Marsul Cub and Arbor Up here is a humongous board.
Yeah. So we've already seen both Immolation Auras, so now comes a point in time where the Demon Hunter starts having to use resources that it would otherwise use for the combo, but Skull is a really nice draw, because everything else in his hand is so cheap that he can do this without sacrificing anything else he wanted to do, and just getting more answers,
And the
more removal.
Philosophy plus...
Just,
Yeah, he's got one in hand. He's got a Moarg still in hand. He can...
I mean, at this point, Urmumked just needs to survive until he can draw Oganoth.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking he can go ahead and make a really big I-Beam.
Right. Yeah, certainly can heal up a lot. He's probably going to Fell Scream here as well. So this is going to be a lot of healing and a lot of board clear. So basically everything he needs to survive this turn. But yeah, at this point, now it's going to be a race between Bill's next board and Urmumked drawing that Oganoth.
Yeah, I guess no need for the I. Well, I mean, you don't need to use the I-Beam, but you're using it as removal and not necessarily concerned too much with the healing because you're back to full again. So, very, very good turn here for your Mumked. Maybe, probably would have, wanted to attack first there and then use the I-Beam. So, slight misplay as far as the ordering goes, but in general, he's in a much healthier position than he was a few seconds ago.
Yeah. Nice pickup for Bill to be able to answer this Moarg so it doesn't stick on the board without having to trade his minion into it. So, imagine he starts with that and then draws behind it.
Does appear to be what he is looking to do. Drawing 6 cards is usually all right.
I guess to draw even more with the Fungal Fortunes. So now the option: does he want to play out this Gibberling here or wait for more options?
I'm sorry, I was saying draw 6 as in including the Fungal Fortunes that popped up, but
gotcha.
Sorry.
You said it before I saw it, so
sorry. Yeah, I know sometimes there can be timing issues with the stream versus or with the spectate, but shout out to Justin Time for hitting legend, buddy.
We knew you could do it. Very proud of you. Alright, so we've seen both Immolation Auras, we've seen FL Scream Blast. So now your Urmumked is essentially out of AoE answers. So he's going to have to kind of pick and choose which of these minions he wants to remove, and Bill's in a pretty decent spot now. Although you're not going to draw that Skull. Self-leave. Big pickup to the Fell Scream, and then he gets Elganoth. So
card 30.
Yeah. Let's see. So with both Moargs and Elganoth, he does 2, 4, 8, 16 with the Soul Cleave, and then 1, 2, 3, 6, 12. So I think this ends up being lethal because he's gonna have enough mana to Geopower behind it.
I was happy to let you run the math on that one and take the heat if it doesn't end up being lethal. But yeah, it looks strong.
Yeah, because he can just Hellscream his own minions and then
Right,
hero
get the
power
extra.
and
Yep.
for the kill.
Yep. Perfect.
Hey, I got the math right.
Yeah, look at you, buddy. Math. One of the hardest decks to really pilot correctly because of all the healing versus the spell damage increases. It can be difficult.
Yeah, the draws worked out perfectly for Urmumked there, getting that skull when he did, discount everything, and absolutely great recognition there to think about the potential for lethal with the way the cards were drawn. I wonder if he had that in his mind when he played the skull, or if it popped up when he looked at his hand and saw that everything was basically free, and then he just started doing the math as quickly as I did because he came to that realization pretty quickly. So extremely well played by Urmumked to end up taking the series 3-1.
Yeah, it started out, pretty favorably for Bill. I think, if I recall correctly, he won that first game and just couldn't get footing. We never saw the Warrior either, so the Druid just struggled quite a bit there for BillSnyder. And NPH does get back into it a little bit here. Now, just going back to the standings, I don't know if any other games have been played in the meantime, so we can do a quick refresh here. But that should put it to a 9-6 lead for Tap Washers, I should say.
Yeah, sounds right. Good job on the math with that one.
Thank you. Much simpler math. No additional matches have been played, so that is still a correct statement there. Urmumked will be joining us briefly for an interview here. He is just needed to run to the bathroom real quick. While we're waiting for him, we can kind of look around at the rest of Pink. The top two teams are playing each other this week. Popeye's Spicy Chicken Sandwich versus Faction, and right now they have a 6-5 game going on, so very, very tight at the top of the Pink conference there. And F2L is also in a heated battle with Poem Locked and Loaded. 11-10 right now. They are leading with Rescue Wabbit versus Violet, the only match to be played. So very, very big one there. Poem Locked and Loaded looking for their first win on the season, and F2L looking to stay in that 4 spot and be a playoff contender for the Pink Conference. So let's...
We've got a tie down towards the lower middle part of the standings between Sushi Rats and Due Process. So it looks like it's going to be a really competitive league all throughout the Pink Conference. And if you want, we can go ahead and talk about the Black Conference while Urmumked joins.
Sure, go right ahead and start that discussion while I try to get him in here.
Yeah, so Hyper Horizon and Swiftboy Black tied 5-5 for the boys with an 8-3 lead over Buffalo. And congratulations to Aeon picking up the 16-12 win over the Unknown, thanks to Markshire winning the last game against me earlier today. A well-played series that Zeph absolutely betrayed me, and I hate Zeph always. But,
it does happen.
And then Urmumked is here. So, hey, welcome to the stream.
Hello.
Congratulations on the victory. Well played by you. I wanted to ask right out the gate, how fast did you calculate that lethal on the last turn with the skull play there?
So I knew I wanted to play the skull no matter what, and then after I played the skull, I thought it was lethal, but then I had to double and triple check the counting there at the end. And even if it wasn't lethal, I knew I was probably just gonna play everything onto the board since he probably doesn't have any removal for it anyways. So I was just gonna vomit pretty much everything onto the board that I could and play as much damage as possible if it wasn't lethal. But then it ended up being perfect lethal, so I was happy about that.
Yeah, that makes sense. When everything's free in your hand, it takes at least one element of counting out, which is the mana size. All you had to worry about was the damage. But I think it's a really good point that Druid wasn't really going to be able to answer the board of stuff anyway. So it worked out pretty well in your favor.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to point out, and obviously not that you need to have it pointed out to you. You were very much there and involved in the games, but I think Bill was doing a pretty good job with the Druid, meeting out the threats in a way that didn't overcommit him. But I think on the flip side of things, you did a great job of making sure you had the resources to deal with everything. So I want to talk with you about that priest game, especially the use of Elucia there, because I know you probably had a good read on what that card was sitting on the left side of his hand. But what went through your mind during that turn?
I knew that if I got to the mid game and then just emptied his hand with Elucia, I would be really in a good spot to win, since that deck is really low curve. And if I could just get there to I was hoping maybe I could play it on turn 3 if he hadn't used the coin yet and he had a couple things to go off for a big pop off turn. But when he did it the first turn, I knew that if I got it off in the mid game, I could just dump his hand of stuff and then it would be kind of like a top deck battle, which ended up being for a while there. So I wanted to play the Lucia that turn pretty much, and I think I ripped it pretty much right away. So
Yeah, as you often have to
my
do
thinking.
with a Lucia, just to give that animation time and be able to make decisions. But
Yep.
even before that, you mentioned the first turn being his pop-out turn. How confident were you that Zephyros was going to give you a lightning storm there?
I've never actually done that before, but I just assumed that he would give it, and he did. Luckily, if he didn't, I would have been kind of sad.
Icicles was concerned for you because he was not a believer in Zephyrus's intellect there, so it did work out, but there was definitely genuine concern.
Yeah. I'm really glad that Zephyrus is just there in my mulligan, so I didn't even have to
Right.
worry too much to get game blown out early like that.
Well, this is a big win for not only for you but for NPH to kind of keep you guys alive this week, but alive in the playoff race going forward. So, any thoughts as far as how you're feeling going into the final weeks of the pro season?
So I think that we still have a very outside shot at the playoffs. We really need to go on a run here. So I think it's a must win up here for Agent and Based in this last week to finish off this week. And then I think we need to win out to have a decent shot at making the playoffs. But I think it's still possible. I really like the team, and we communicate pretty well. We talk about other stuff too sometimes. So I'm just having a good, fun pro season. We knew coming into it that we didn't have like the most stacked roster ever, but we were still going to have a lot of fun together, and it's just more for that. And we can still make playoffs if we put in the work and get the draws.
Yeah, we talked about at the top that the individual players on your team are all very, very talented, and I mean, it just goes to show that pro is extremely tough this time around. I mean, it only gets harder every season, and with the caliber of players you have on your team, you're being competitive in that environment is very impressive.
Yeah, I agree. The caliber of players really stepped up. I think it was my first season Skittles brought me in. I went like 8-3 or something, but I remember that just like looking at the rosters from that season compared to the seasons we have now, it's just a whole new level.
Definitely. Well, anything you'd like to say before you head on out for the night? As we're going to move on to our second match here after we let you go.
Just want to shout out my teammates and hope that both Agent and Base can pull off the week for us. And then that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Congratulations on the win. Hopefully we'll see you around here in the future as well.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yep, you too.
All right. As we move into match number 2, we're going to go ahead and reset the screen. As you can see, we are looking at Therottedzombie versus Koroden here. That is Therottedzombie for F2L versus Koroden of STD. That's standard THL Degenerates, not what you'd expect it to be. But this is a good one. This is we're in the last week of Legacy regular season. This is the Gold Conference with F2L leading 8-6, and F2L is currently the 4 seed with just a tiny lead over, or no, I guess not tiny, 10-point lead over standard THL Degenerates. But this one matters a lot because they really need the W here out of Koroden to turn this around, and pretty much need Koroden and Quaz to almost sweep, I think, if my math is correct, because that would give them an additional 11 points, getting them to 90, and would be 1 point above F12 Red. So they can afford to give up 1 point in these last 2 games and be tied for that 4 spot and get the win, get the tiebreaker with the win this week.
Donde, I might have to check your math on this one.
Go right ahead, man.
Yeah, F2L Red, according to the current standings, has 97 points, and standard THL Degenerates has 85. So if the max for the Degenerates is 11, even if they sweep, finish 1 point behind F2L Red, unfortunately.
I thought I saw 88 when I looked at the page real quick. You're right, it's 89. My bad.
No, it's all good. It's all good. We just want to set the stakes correctly. So
right.
At this point, Koroden's playing for pride, which
is
less
still a lot
to play for.
Of course. Koroden. Not only that, but he's having a pretty good season, 3-2. Zombie at 3-3, which is I believe his first foray into THL standard side of things. He's a very well-known wild player, so this is something F2L has done really well roster construction wise, pulling in players who are extremely talented, have low PR because of their limited standard experience, but are just great players who are going to do well in that lower seed. So should be a fun one here, and we see the matchup here is Druid Paladin Rogue Warrior versus Druid and Priest Rogue Warlock. So it's interesting stuff here. I do have the bands, Icicles. I promised I'd let you give a shot at this here. So take it away. Let me know what you think is going to happen here.
So, I mean, it's hard. If this was like a pure competitive match and there was no potential memery afoot, which I'm not discounting, then I would have said probably both these players are just going to ban the Paladin and just be done with it, and just not have any cheese on the board. So that would be my standard answer. Beyond that, I think I'll just have to stick to that because I don't know if these players are considering whether or not this match is meaningful or anything other than just the pride of winning on stream. So we'll just stick with a double Paladin ban and see if I'm on the right track there.
Not quite. Not quite. Fine. That's okay. We did see a Paladin ban for Therottedzombie, so Koroden will not get to play Paladin. But it's a warrior ban on the other side.
Okay, so Koroden banned Therottedzombie's warrior. So he thinks maybe he has the answers to Paladin or just doesn't care if that shows up.
Just going ahead and updating that so it reflects on the screen. All right. So that is, as you said, that's where we stand right now. We're going to see Druid Paladin Rogue versus Druid Rogue Warlock. So let's get these players started. We will have Therottedzombie on the bottom of your screen and Koroden on the top. I'm going to let them know. And while I'm letting them know, why don't you let everybody know what, how much we appreciate them for subbing and following our Twitch channel there, Icicles.
Okay, at some point I need to steal Ron's script because he has the perfect auctioneer reading, or as I just am making up on the fly. But we always love and appreciate everyone that subscribes to the THL channel. It allows us to do so many fun things. You with your channel points being able to predict matches and other shenanigans, as well as contribute to the panelists on Around the Saloon. And for THL, it helps us just keep the show running, keep the league, league.
Oh, no, not like this.
I corrected myself very quickly. It also gives Arhat the resources to punish people that say the L word inadvertently. So it's been nice knowing you all. Been nice working with you. But also just all the fun stuff that THL is able to do, the different series that we're expanding into Wild and Battlegrounds and everything else, the different rewards for some of the off-season tournaments and everything. So it all goes hand in hand. You make us happy and we make you happy. So feel free to hit that subscribe button, maybe get to sub if you're already subscribed yourself, and just spread the THL love around. And that is the L word we are allowed to use.
Love is always, yes, always welcome. Well done, thank you so much for stepping in for that. And we are getting ready to step into match one here. It's going to be Therottedzombie up. Oh my goodness. I don't know if any. I don't think I transitioned fast enough, but we saw the hello from Anoyotron, and it was humongous on my screen. Like, it took up the whole screen. I don't think you guys got to see that. There we go.
What could be more annoying than hello, other than a visual bug that takes up the entire visual? Yes.
And now, as we're moving into Legacy, this is closeless, so we're not any knowledge about what these decks are. Though it does appear to be a token druid, standard, the normal one you see on ladder, and this is going to be a ramp paladin. So for fans of big things, we might see some crazy stuff out of Therottedzombie side of the board.
Potentially. So this is a interesting twist for Koroden because he played the Nature Saves last turn. It makes it a little more awkward this turn because he can't really take full advantage of the choices here. But I'll just go with the choose one, and then I guess coin into Dreamwave Guardians now to spread as wide as he can. And from Therottedzombie's perspective, the fact that he banned Paladin and his wasn't banned absolutely makes sense for him to lead it out the gate. But this is the kind of start that you want as a Druid to potentially punish the at least somewhat slower start from the Paladin. It's going to take at least your 4th turn or 5th turn before things really start to ramp up.
Now, one thing we didn't see in the previous match with BillSnyder's Druid, we didn't see the Solars as an option in his deck. I tend to like the Solar Eclipses a little bit more, but just wanted to pick your brain about that one a little bit.
Yeah, the theory behind cutting Solar in the really low curve list that we saw Bill run, and what we seem to be seeing from Koroden here, is that Solar is often a win more card. So by the time that you're able to play that in conjunction with Savage Roar or something else, you're probably already well ahead. That being said, it does offer potential additional redundancy with the Savage Roar or other options. So Koroden not here, faced with a kind of a tough choice. The Keeper of the Grove is a decent tempo play to maybe silence the 2/1 so that he can't draw.
Right.
I mean, I think that's probably fine if you're afraid of ramping up. Sometimes as a Druid, you don't mind being ramped up because then you just go wide and then crush them. And that works out pretty well in your favor. But right now, I think Therottedzombie has gone off to a great start, staving off the initial Jiggling Rush and having a pretty solid board of his own here without having any cheese shenanigans to start with.
And not to mention the fact that we're glazing over the fact that he played that Wand Maker, which does activate Allura since he doesn't have coin, but he also managed to get Humility off of it, which is one of, if not the single best one-cost spell. He's got both Tip the Scales in hand, and
right, exactly.
Right now, that is a problem with playing Allura, but hoping to get the Nozdormu and then rip the Tip the Scales immediately if he can. But at this point, with the silence of that minion, if he wasn't running Amalgams, it would have been 100% guaranteed to draw that Nozdormu.
No, I think the payoff for Koroden silencing that 2/3 is going to be apparent right now, because I think what you're going to see potentially is clearing off the 4/1 and then coming back behind with a Glowfly, potentially Innervate into a Power of the Wild. I think that's a pretty reasonable play. He might even opt to Lunar Eclipse instead, but I think with the board space here, you might just be worth saving the Solar. But I guess he's counting. Hang on. 6 plus 16, 22. He has lethal now with Solar, Savage, Innervate, Hero Power for exact 23. See if he catches that. So this could be the potential power of the Solar Eclipse. The fact that he's hesitating right now tells me that he's at least counting it up.
I was gonna say, I know for me, with Druid and Savage Roars particularly, I count like at least 2 or 3 times before I play, and it's not me slow rolling. So if anybody in the future feels like it is, I apologize, but it is certainly just me not not feeling confident in my counting abilities.
So the other option there was just to Power of the Wild also, which is a little bit more than exactly gold.
And there it is. He does find it, does get there before the rope burns out, and Koroden will take game 1 in that lopsided fashion we have come to expect out of these token druids.
Yeah, I think as much as the Ramp Paladin has some pretty ridiculous plays that are almost unstoppable, sometimes the druid is you're just dead, and you can't get the time to play those. So even if the minion had been silenced, and even if he had been able to play out Nozdormu as a 4-mana 8/8, it doesn't do anything on the board, and I think Koroden probably would have just gotten there.
And that's something you talked about as well. Sometimes there's a lot of decks out there that are just more than happy for you to give them 6 additional mana, 7 or 5 additional mana, depending on when turn it's played, and that's one of them. Druid is happy to just go crazy.
So now we see Therottedzombie go right back to that Paladin, and Koroden busting out the Zoo, which is a little bit more of a fair take on sort of an early aggression deck. So Zombie might have a little bit better chance. He once again has the Dragon Tamer in hand to potentially ramp up, and against the Zoo, you're not as punished often for giving them extra mana. So we'll see how this plays out for Zombie this game.
So Sphere Sapience on 1, I tend to like Sphere Sapience quite a bit in this deck, and he's going to take this Tip the Scales.
Yeah.
Play the Red Skull Dragon Tamer. I think that's right.
Exactly, yeah, he's planning on getting Stormroot from this, not expecting there to be a silence effect. Not that there really
Right.
would have been expected to be one the last game either, is discovered. But yeah, I think this is setting up well for Zombie to play Stormroot on 4 into the scales on 10 mana the next turn.
A tip that can be followed up by the Darkmoon Rabbit against a board-centric deck is pretty devastating. And one thing that was nice is Koroden did play that Voidwalker to get in the way of the immediate removal of his Ebb and Lock, and stops the Paladin from getting their Nosdormu this upcoming turn. And we saw Strongman in the mulligan this time, and that usually signifies it is a non-Circus Amalgam version of the Paladin, so probably a 100% draw with the Nosdormu if I had to guess.
Yeah. I think I personally prefer that version. I think if you're running Nosdormu and that's one of your kind of win conditions, then I don't want to dilute that chance with the Amalgams. Even if they're a decent card, I still feel better about having the 100% chance of getting my Nosdormu.
Yeah, my counterpoint to that is that it does make for a more potent N'Zoth later in the game if you're running the Amalgams, because then they come out as part of being other tribes. So there is a benefit to it, and I think it really comes down to, do you feel like it's worth it to have that dilution versus the guaranteed Nosdormu on 4? And I can completely understand both sides of the fence on that one.
So here Koroden opts not to take 50-50 and just plays a 6-mana Giant to guarantee that he gets 3 cards off the end of Gul'dan. And the choice by Zombie to think ahead and take the tip of scales here, it could opt for the Darkmoon Rabbit just to clear this board out.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
A little more safely, especially with a strong min in hand behind it. But yeah, you can't go wrong with tip of scales just to deal with this as well, because you know you're gonna get some rushers off of it.
Exactly. Yeah, I think he was probably almost fine either way. But yeah, I'm okay with this decision too, because like you said, you got the strong man behind it as well. This is a pretty dominant position at this point for Therottedzombie.
Yeah, this is not something Zoo typically come back from. They just don't have the comeback mechanics against this type of board. Nightshade Mission isn't even enough to kill off the 6/6, so double Soulfire doesn't even really make much of a difference either. Although it does, I guess, give you some ability to draw a bunch of cards if your discards hit right. But yeah, this is not looking great for the Zoo. Mosher is at least something to get some healing and be able to actually kill the 6/6. Maybe you can Soulfire. Yeah, Soulfire the War Leader. So I guess maybe you can kind of climb your way back into this somewhat, at least deal with the initial tip of scales. But just knowing how the Paladin deck works, it might not be ultimately enough. Although he's putting up a pretty good fight, all things considered. So.
Yeah, unlike the Druid, where you can kind of keep them off the board, and there's a bit of like a finite end to their threats. This Paladin has just wave after wave after wave of threat, and he's already got Darkmoon in hand. We don't see clowns, which I guess would be the biggest pickup from this point forward that Therottedzombie be looking for, because if you can just get clowns down, there's literally no way that the Warlock can get through that in an efficient fashion.
I was curious how much thought Zombie gave to just playing Angler first and seeing if he could find either another Will Leader or Booyah for lethal that turn, but honestly, this is completely fine.
Yeah, I like
any danger.
Yeah, I like what he did. I mean, there's no real overt threat to him at this point.
I think we're ready for game 3.
It does seem like we're trending that way. Ray's dead. Wicked Whispers, not Broom. None of these are really gonna swing this game. I mean, probably see this go right into the the Nosdormu is the most damage that can be removed. Yeah, that's gonna be Nosdormu plus. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of the War Leader. I mean, I guess there's still a chance here.
He's doing a little bit of work, so he's not dead yet.
Probably just play the Dark Lair or one of the Dark Lairs. Yep.
Goes a long way.
Ray's dead. See what we get.
Yeah, I wonder if there may have been an argument for doing the Dark Lair Ray's Dead first and then playing with the Whispers with everything on the board, just for a little bit more board presence, a little bit more healing off the the Moshard up pressure, but yeah, I think this is okay. So now Zombie has another choice. He can play grab Yasharaj. Now gives him a 10-10 and a 6-6 with taunt, which isn't too bad.
Sure.
Considering what's on the board. So just push another 5 damage with another really tough to answer board out, but looks like he's angling this rod instead.
Yeah, I might just play the Allura with the broomstick. I don't think that's a problem either, since you don't really care about the draw from Allura at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it could have worked. Looks like he's gonna hold Allura, I suppose, or at least hold the
I mean, you might as well. That plus Finley coming down, I think, is fine here. Just
I think holding the it's fine.
Yeah.
There's no reason to play it there. You had an easy answer. So, and once again, Koroden in a spot where he needs to answer a whole bunch of stuff, and I mean, he might still once again be able to just Matron and then Wicked Whispers behind it. So. He's definitely scrapping along a little bit better than I would have given this deck credit for, so kudos to him for making a game of this.
You were just a burden.
So Dark Lair is removed. Yeah, unfortunately, using the Soulfire to clear board is just getting further away from the ultimate win condition of, damaging your opponent's face with those spells and your minions, but at this point, does Koroden ever stick anything? Unfortunately, I don't believe the answer is yes.
Yeah, I'm getting decent discards at least, for what that's worth.
That's another good pick up there, the Strongman, because now you can play both Strongmen this turn with an empty hand for Koroden. That's all but over.
Yeah, I've been writing off Koroden a little too quickly this game, and I do apologize for that, but I think we're now at critical mass.
This might just be enough here.
She's Paladin, she's in and out.
That's what it does. It's a potent deck. Hand of Gul'dan, let's draw some more. He's just looking, maybe there's a way that he can kill himself instead. Yeah. That's you know what? Sometimes that's all you can do is get yourself.
Very honorable.
And there it is. Koroden drops game 2 as we have an even series now, 1-1 with a Paladin win for Therottedzombie. And we'll have to see where he goes from this point forward. We got a Druid, we got a Rogue, and we've got Koroden's Rogue and Warlock. Do you think we'll see that Warlock again immediately?
Yeah, so the Warlock, you probably want that matchup against the Druid. You don't really want that matchup against the Rogue typically. So if he thinks that Zombie's likely to bring out the Rogue, he might bring out his own Druid, depending on, his Druid's out the count. So it might bring up his own Rogue. Although, yeah, it's kind of tough because his Rogue doesn't want to go against the Druid. I think his Warlock doesn't want to go against the Rogue. So it kind of just is a coin flip almost. And maybe the onus is on Zombie, whether he thinks Koroden's going to kill the Warlock again, in which case he would want to pick this Rogue. So a little bit of mind games going into game 3 of kind of a coin flip. See who comes out on top. So maybe Zombie guesses correctly that Koroden would stick the same deck and gets the Rogue versus Warlock matchup.
Watch your back.
I did not guess correctly when I was setting up the classes for our match screen there. I always try to guess at it so that way I'm correct and we can get into the game as fast as possible, but I was incorrect.
Yeah, really good start for Zombie here with Spy Mistress into Coin Sage. So
love that.
Definitely
love to see
what
that.
you want to see. Especially with Koroden just tossing out the Dark Lair basically as a sacrificial lamb, knowing he has a second one in hand, but still, yeah, not going to get any value off of it.
A cruel fate awaits you.
Yeah, I don't see Zombie passing it up here. Yeah, gonna definitely get rid of that. And I like this. Therottedzombie's running the lower curve deck. With the South Sea deckhands, I expect Sinister Strikes in the deck as well. And that, with the combination of the Warlock damaging themselves, can just be really, really quick work for him.
Yeah, this looks like a weapon rogue here with the Dread Corsair included. So. And the Krasnov. So probably similar to what you ran against Ron in Pro, if I'm guessing correctly.
Whoa! Let's not give away the secrets.
It was on stream.
I know.
You watched it.
I'm kidding.
Donde.
I'm just kidding.
Donde.
Not to mention
I'm
the fact that
giving
pro deck lists are completely public as well.
Listen, man, don't scare me like that. I thought I did something wrong for a half second.
Sorry.
I was scared. You scared me. No,
I will
this
say
is,
I did not have Janis Barov in my list, so I do think that's an interesting inclusion. That's a little bit more late game, but not not a ton.
I mean, it's typically where the curve stops is the 5-mana minion with Krasinov and Barov. But I mean, for Zombie's purposes here, letting the rogue do as much damage to itself as it wants, and then throwing over the top with the weapon swings is going to be probably more than enough in this game. So, but I don't want to write off Koroden too quickly. I made that mistake last game, so we'll have to see how this plays out. But it's looking like a pretty good start for the rogue, being able to push a pretty decent amount of damage and establish a board.
Second secret passage.
So. A lot of secret passages. I wouldn't be surprised to see one get played here. I guess.
No, I think weapon backstab is fine. Yeah, I think that's fine here.
So I guess he's opting to float a lot of mana here. Saving the Eviscerate for a face.
Yeah, I would say Eviscerate's going face right now.
Yeah, I probably would too, just to use the mana. I don't think there's any reason to hold it.
Right. Unless you want a secret passage.
I mean, the only reason you secret passage here is because you have the other one. Playing it with 2 mana. Man, I don't know. I would have liked to maybe have started with a secret passage, but you at least get something.
He ends up with a minion out of the deal, so it wasn't completely fruitless. Yeah, I think with the second secret passage, that might be the only reason why he would have done that.
Yeah, kind of an awkward turn by Zombie. Maybe one he'll go back and look at and think maybe there's a potentially more efficient line, but I think he's still in a very advantageous position. So that being said, Koroden is going to get a draw off his matron. So I don't know the woods yet, and Zombie's going to have to come up with some persistent threat here because he doesn't quite have enough damage, and that is a big draw.
Great draw.
More draw. So that might be able to get him over the hump with the last little bit of damage that he needs.
Yeah, I think playing that here. I'm gonna go with the Krasinov instead. I mean, you can use using the 2-1 almost certainly on the 5-2 since it trades so beautifully. I don't think you want to use your weapon on it. That's a lot more damage than you'd like to take against a deck that can put out a lot of damage quickly.
Yeah, I think the only consideration would be whether you wanted to keep that 2-1 stealth, but I think you're close enough to killing the Warlock that you just want to push the damage and go ahead and clear off the with the minion.
And Koroden's going to go ahead and damage himself as well, make it even a little bit easier with that Eviscerate hand too. Yeah,
he has
very
so
risky.
many resources in his hand. I don't know. That's an interesting choice. I feel like he had things to do otherwise with the Expired Merchant, getting a draw off the hand, having the Giant follow up with the Broom. I mean, there were things he could have done without hurting himself here. So.
Yeah, worst case scenario, you can take the soul fire to the 4-2 and pray you don't discard something fantastic. But
he does get the heal, so he is back in this game, making really good use of this Masher Matron combo. 2 games in a row now to really make us have to rethink about this matchup and the position the 2 players are in.
And a pretty decent secret passage here for Zombies. He now can use everything in hand, which we will see. The sap of the 5-1, which I think is the right play, because nothing is going to be targetable for it next turn.
And then Reed Dagger play the... I guess you'll save
you can't do that.
Dagger.
Yeah, you can't do that now.
I was going to say maybe Reed Dagger play the Spy Mistress and the Nitro Boost that instead of playing the 3-1, but... Oh, the Nitro Boost is...
Yeah, the Nitro Boost is corrupted, so it stays in hand.
Got it. Oh, yeah.
It's technically a different card.
Mentioning that interaction once, and then... just totally forgot about it on stream.
Yeah, no, it's one of those that everyone makes the mistake once, and then I made it personally. I think it was when Based was watching me on Ladder, and she was like, "Yeah, man, that's a different card. You know that?" And I was like, "Didn't now? I do now."
Yeah.
So it happens to everybody for sure.
This worked out. I think this ended up being okay, and having to commit the Nitro Boost at the time, making the most use of that mana while still preserving that card, it makes a lot of sense. So it was a good call by Zombie there. So now Koroden facing down decent amount of damage. See how much he's willing to damage himself again without a Masher in hand to back it up.
Yeah, I think he probably wants to avoid really any form of self-damaging.
So being able to play both Wicked Whispers, the discard the Flame Imps that he probably wasn't going to play anyway, might have made sense.
Right.
But opposite just go for one with the Merchant discarding the Matron. So now Zombie's facing down a lot of damage. Is he going to be able to find
3,
enough
4,
here?
7, 11 in hand, and yeah, with the cheap cutting class, we'll see where it goes. Dread Corsair, Jandis. Does he Greyheart Sage to look from? I mean, at this point, that's not enough. You got a Seal Dancer.
Right.
Or Jandis is fine too, I suppose. Well, you got the Dread Corsair for some taunt, but there's still a lot of damage on board.
Yeah, you're going to take out some of it, but the problem is when you backstab this 3/2, you're giving
So many.
2 rush minions,
Koroden
yeah.
the rush minions back to clear out your taunt, so your taunt is essentially useless. The damage on the board, plus the Soulfire in hand, Wicked Whispers in hand, I mean, Koroden has it if
A cruel
somebody isn't
fate
able to
awaits
kill
you
him
in
this
the
turn.
ashes.
Does pick up the second Eviscerate, and that Self-Sharpening Sword is far, far too late in the game to be useful.
Yeah, I mean, Zombie should be eviscerating the 4/3 at this point.
Well, I
not
can see the
playing
5/1 taking out the 4/5 is probably where he's at with it, and yeah.
have to. Or maybe
Because that does at least, put only 13 on board, which we know you can get up to 14, 15 with Wicked Whispers and a Soulfire. So, yeah, it's lethal, but, in Therottedzombie's eyes, he's using this to live. But we
Right.
do know, with, as you mentioned earlier, with Caster Vision, we know that this is lethal as long as Koroden plays everything in the correct order here, which would just be, Wicked Whispers first is fine.
Yeah, because the Flame Imps are still 0.
Still 0.
Right. There's no chance that Wicked Whispers discards the Soulfire. So
Right.
Soulfire's the last card played, and Koroden takes game 3. So he's just thinking it through, making sure that he plays things in the right order. Yeah, tough call by Zombie there, trying to figure out how to navigate that hand. Maybe killing the 4/3, and in hindsight, obviously, but just in the moment, knowing that that rusher's coming back, that taunt was not going to be serviceable. Probably would have given me pause on playing it at that time.
Yeah, there were some interesting lines to be had that game for sure. And I mean, that's obviously it's kind of the risk you run a little bit with a lower curve, the higher damage output rogue. I mean, I do love that deck a lot myself, so I'm not even going to question the bring for a second because I think that's a fantastic idea. But it can be very tough, especially when you get those double secret passages in hand, and just really navigating around the potential draws, the potential damage output that you can get. It's tough, especially if you don't draw that self-sharpening sword early enough, like he did not that game.
Yeah. So now Zombie with the choice between his rogue and his druid opts to go with the rogue again into Koroden's rogue. So maybe he's thinking his druid is not one that lines up well with the rogue, or maybe he just feels really good about this rogue, wants to play it again. And it looks pretty close to a mirror here with the Volpera Toxin Blade in Koroden's hand. Looks like we're going to see weapon on weapon.
Yeah, I've seen the Volpera in some lists, and that tends to be one that is one of the earlier cuts from the list. I mean, it's a great card, but for a 3-mana investment, it can often be too much for this deck. Like, it doesn't combo well with a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Though with the pickup there for Koroden, that's real good with that Greyheart Sage.
Yeah. I think the one matchup where it probably does work out pretty well is actually in the mirror, because it's something that has to be answered. And
yeah, soft taunt.
The other rogue does not want to be spending damage into minions, so it does offer at least some interesting decision making for the other side. So whole lot of weapon buffs there for Zombie. No self-sharpening sword in hand, but sometimes a dagger is enough. So we'll see how he opts to play this. You can get a pretty cheap Dread Corsair if he wants it.
I think he will. I don't think there's a point in investing everything you have this turn into your dagger. Gonna go ahead and kill. Yeah, especially if you're gonna trade into the board, that's fine. Yeah, this is a good play.
And so Koroden has all the weapon synergy, but no weapon in hand at the moment. adds to it with the Krasinov. So really gonna be looking for something. Although he might opt to his dagger and then take advantage of the Volpera giving a discount to cutting class next turn.
Yeah, this might come down to who draws the sword first, honestly. Oh, and Sage will help Therottedzombie tremendously. Backstab and cutting class. Okay, cutting class continues to give him options here. Not this
So-
turn, but
Nitro Boost actually makes sense here. I know it'd be only one swing, but it could have let him play the cutting class for free. So it looks like he's going to opt to hold it, which I think is fine, but
Yeah,
there
I'm
was
totally
some
fine with that.
consideration to accelerating the draw through the deck, potentially.
I'm fine
Just
with that
use the
because
mana.
he's got the minions on board right now, and Koroden's going to have to be the one to figure out how to handle that, which we're going to see. Weapon into the 2/1, which is fine. And Zombie can go ahead and play a dagger next turn and get double the effects because he will have 2 swings with it.
Right, yeah. And still being able to get the free cutting class here
Yep.
definitely works out.
And gets the Nitro Boost minion lived, so he's going to go ahead and get the full value off that, and really putting Koroden in a rough spot now. We're going to get cutting class for free. There's a secret passage. There's the self-sharpening sword. He doesn't even need it at this point. He's just sending everything you see to face. So Eviscerate next turn with that backstab activator and a secret passage is just brutal. He doesn't even need. I mean, he doesn't even need the secret passage at this point. It's just
done
over
at this point.
without a taunt.
Mhm. I mean, even a taunt might not be enough, but based on what we see in
Yeah, taunt would be the only thing that would have kept Koroden potentially alive. Unbeknownst to him, this is just it.
yeah. So very quick game 4, and my prediction for game 5 was 1 series early, and we're gonna get to see it here between Zombie and Koroden.
Well played.
And there it is. 2-2 it is. And in the words of our friend Brushy Tuna, the best words in all of Hearthstone.
Game
5. I didn't go with the deep gravelly brushy voice, but I'm glad you did.
Someone's got to pay tribute to our fine-tuned friend.
Hazelbark!
Oh no,
Valera!
it's a hazel bark.
You not a fan?
Everyone knows how I feel about hazel bark.
Apparently not good. It's okay. We'll get through it together.
That's all right.
So it does look like a relatively quick Opening Druid. We'll see what text he has in his, whether he's running the Solar Eclipse, Gibberlings, other choices like that. But it should be interesting to see which player can get on the board and stick it. Druid can potentially overwhelm this rogue with the early pressure, but
Oh
then
no.
yeah, it's rough
Koroden's
for
hand
Koroden.
is just not great.
I mean, it could turn very quickly if he is able to pick up the weapon, but yikes.
And it does not get better with the Dread Corsair off the top. Meanwhile, Rod Zombie gets his pick of the litter with Nature Studies. Moonfire.
That's pretty good here.
Moonfire's not a bad pickup in this matchup, honestly, just because of the 1 health minions. But yeah, he opts to go for the Aeroponics.
Gordon's going to be desperately hoping for the Greyheart Sage next turn.
Fungal Fortunes. I mean, if you're Rod Zombie, you've got to feel pretty good about the fact that Koroden did literally nothing on turn 1 and played an Infiltrator on turn 2 right off the top. So he knows the texture of that hand is not ideal. And especially
It's
having
not
just
getting
played
better.
the same deck, he knows what Koroden's
Yeah.
going through.
Right. Yeah, we could end up seeing a 4-mana draw 2 next turn. Gordon.
Gibberling. Oh, this is an explosive potential turn here.
A huge draw for Zombie because he really didn't have the best turn coming up. He was, 1 mana away from just really going off with the Glowfly or Arbor up. And now he's setting himself up if he saves his coin to be able to get a huge Arbor up, which is what he's going to do. So I like this from Zombie.
Yeah, that's a great threatening turn here. It has to there has to be answers, and there's just not enough wideboard answers for the rogue.
So the Toxin Blade can come down and allow him to play the Corsair and be able to kill 1 minion, but he's going to get the bad news that the rest of these are getting buffed up. So this is starting to look pretty rough for the group. Probably will be a couple trades at least from Zombie's side to take out these 2 minions. One because he has to, and the other because he wants to. but still like leaving behind this board and getting the free aeroponics behind
Yeah, I
it.
was going to say the aeroponics is the understated portion of this, as he was just going to go ahead and add even more threats to his hand. And there's a Savage Roar too.
Wow. And with the Solar Eclipse, so I think that's probably
Yeah.
game next turn. I don't know
Yeah,
if he
12,
wants
14,
to
16, 18, 20,
sap one,
22, 24,
eviscerate
26,
another.
28. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the play has to be sap and eviscerate. As awful as that feels, like this has just been a garbage hand for Koroden in this game. It really hurts to see things just not come together.
Yeah, doing what he can to keep the game going a little bit longer. But Therottedzombie can just feel free to play a Glowfly.
Glowfly, exactly. Yeah. Yep.
And you may have had an answer to the last turn's board, but I don't think there's an answer to this one, because double Fan and Knives is not walking through that door for Koroden.
Krasnodar can kill one thing. But yeah, this is
He needs to kill more than one thing
this
to stay alive.
Very quickly for Koroden with the 2-1 lead evaporating in the snap of a finger. With Therottedzombie getting the massive blowout in turn in game 4 with the weapon buffs and the full board in game 5. So tough stuff for Koroden. I think he played the series extremely well. A couple of games that we didn't give him a whole lot of credit for, making a fight of it against the Paladin and then winning against the Rogue in pretty impressive fashion. But his deck let him down here in these last 2 games. This Weapon Rogue not doing what it needed to do to stay alive. So
Backstab, yeah. Let's get it.
One.
I mean, it would have been the same as if he played Krasnodar and killed it, but oh boy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Could have Lightning Bloomed and then Arbored up, like whatever you really want to do at that point.
Impressively done.
At least you didn't have to look
Lots
at
of
that Hazelmark for too long with Donde. So
Thanks. You know, it's really what it's all about is the courtesy that our players extend to me and my personal life choices of not liking Hazelmark. And F2L and Therottedzombie takes this series in 5. As you mentioned, this was all for pride, but still, a win is a win, and you want to win as much as you can going into the playoffs, as F2L are doing. So let's see if we can get Therottedzombie in here. We'll talk. I love how every time I say Therottedzombie, I feel like I'm saying Rob Zombie, which may be his intent. I don't know. We might have to ask him about that.
ask him. It's a good question.
We'll see if he's got time to come in here for a quick interview. Get him on my friends list in Discord as well.
Is there a 200-person limit to Discord friends list?
Hopefully not.
Are you getting close to it?
No.
Not as popular in Discord as you are in game, huh?
No, not at all.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Trying to find him in Discord.
Did you try searching for zombie?
Of course not. I don't see. Is he not in any of the Discords?
Yeah, you never know. He might be one of those ninja players that Phil just picked up and just threw in without him being a part of any of our social presence. Let's see. Maybe he goes by a different name.
No, we found him.
Hey, all right. Outstanding producing, Donde. Way to go.
I mean, I outright asked him for his tag, so.
Yeah, that's how you do it. That works. I'm looking it up on the player database too, just out of curiosity. But it's what you would expect it to be, a Therottedzombie. So.
There we go. Friend request sent.
Perfect.
And we will get him in here shortly. So what did you think about our 2 series tonight?
I think we saw a lot of pretty well-played games. Honestly, I think what we saw from urmumked in the first series, navigating those matchups pretty well. Even Bill played well. The Druid just kind of bricked for him in a couple tough spots. And then Koroden playing pretty well in some unfavorable situations and really making games of it. But I think overall, all 4 players played really well. And welcome to the stream, Therottedzombie.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for playing on stream. Thanks for joining us here. Congratulations on the win, and not only from a personal level, congratulations on F2L making the playoffs. How does that feel? I know this is your first standard THL series. Is a big accomplishment for you guys to be making it that so soon in your standard career here.
It's felt pretty good. The team has given me a tremendous amount of support since I typically play Wild, and it's been a very good learning experience and good competition all the way around.
And welcome to your 5-year-old. I know you were worried in the background as well. That's totally fine with us here, as we're both fathers as well. We get it from that end.
Absolutely.
Your captain Rabobson is a former teammate of mine, so shout out to Rabobson. Fantastic captain, fantastic person, and you couldn't be more correct about the support. I know he's great in prep and really on top of things. So I think you landed in a great situation there. I know he's out there in chat, so happy to hear he's having an impact on you. So talk to me about your decision to play in Standard this season too, because I know, like you said, you're a Wild specialist. You played a lot of Wild. I see your rank in Wild. It's not not a lot of players like to cross over in this direction. I feel like from Wild to Standard. So what made you really want to do that?
Well, 2 things. I had the support of a great team, so I thought I could land comfortably and learn my way along that way. But more, I found success in Wild, and I want to get better at the game overall. And I think the best way to do that is to play against the good players who play in Standard. And so I took on the THL Legacy, took on THL Last Hero Standing, and I just want to play the games, pure and simple.
Yeah, more options is always a great way to go, for sure, and I think you're making the most of it here now. A 4-3 record, obviously a positive first season, first step, and nothing that I saw as far as leaky play here in your series that was well played. Sometimes some of the hands did not cooperate with you, like that double secret passage and whatnot for the rogue.
Oh, that was brutal.
That was tough.
we got through it at least in the second time the rogue came around, but you dealt the hand. You're dealt the hand you're dealt, and you play the hand you're dealt, and you just try your best. And that's where F2L has been great. They help me optimize and help me be a better player. And the competition too. Koroden is just terrific, and he forced me to really just play to my outs, play the best I could, if I wanted to emerge on top here.
Yeah, absolutely. Koroden's a great player. We saw him. We've seen a couple times on stream, and he's always putting up good scores, good records. So definitely a quality win for you. Icicles, any other questions here for Zombie?
I think in kind of playing more Standard decks, coming over from Wild, any decks jump out to you as being personal favorites on the Standard side that you've enjoyed playing since competing on this side of it?
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest differences between Standard and Wild at the present is that control archetypes will have a slightly harder time here in Standard. We just have so many more tools in Wild that are now gone from Standard, but we just enjoy them every day. However, here, I'm a Warlock player, and I've been since day 1 of Hearthstone, but as you see, I didn't bring a Warlock this week. That's because right now I'm looking at decks that smash the face, and in our estimation, the ones I brought are the ones to do the job.
Certainly. Yeah, the Ramp Paladin isn't the one that you would traditionally think of as the smash the face deck, but when you get tip the scales on turn 4 or 5, it smashes a lot of faces.
Oh, right, and I was expecting the Paladin to be banned, and so it was just a pleasant surprise to get a chance to play it.
Yeah, I like to see it in little bursts on stream. I don't want to see it taken over all over the place, but it's fun to see, and glad that we did get to witness it tonight.
We got to witness it twice. Yeah, with the
True.
Druids.
Well, we got to witness the bad side of it the first time, where nothing good happens for it, and then we got to see it work properly the second time.
I was so frustrated when Koroden discovered the Keeper of the Grove to silence the Dragon Tamer. That was very huge, but that's how you play the game.
Absolutely. I guess our last question here for you, because we had joked about this just before you came into the chat here. Every time I say Therottedzombie, my brain says Rob Zombie. Was there any connection whatsoever in your name to that?
Oh, I sure hope not.
Okay.
That's
all right.
I tease though. He's a fine artist. Just no, I love horror stuff, and it's been my handle for as long as I can remember. I'm 36 now, and it's been with me for a long time.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, I didn't have a preference either way. I just needed to know. I needed to satiate the curiosity. So.
And now, my friend, you do know.
We do. Well, thank you for joining us. Congratulations again, and good luck next week in the playoffs as well, as we'll see who F2L ends up drawing in the first round of the playoffs.
Thank you. I'll absolutely give it my all, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Anytime. Thanks for being on stream, and we will see you later.
Cheers.
Take care.
All right, Icicles, that does it for us as well, as that was a fantastic set of series. And this is, like we said, last week for Legacy, still have Hero going on, still have Pro for a few more weeks, as well as Wild. So plenty more regular season action. We'll definitely have a mix of that going forward on stream. And we'll have to see how Legacy shakes out over the next day and change, because we only got a few more hours tonight here, one more hour if you're on the East Coast. So, Icicles, thank you for being here. Everybody in chat, thank you for joining us. It was an entertaining time. I will be excited to be back again next Saturday with you all. Icicles, I hope you join me if you're capable.
Yeah, we'll look forward to it.
All right, and we will have some matches. I think we have some of the School Stone tomorrow, but there's like a kind of a big football game happening tomorrow. You guys might have heard of it. The Superb Owl, I believe. Not an Umbral Owl, the Superb Owl. That's happening tomorrow night, so there will be no Sunday Night Showdown, as even the Great Saku demands to watch his Bloodsport. So that is going to be that's going to be it for most of the casting this weekend. We'll be back with you next week. Monday, check out Around the Saloon, as always, on Monday. I don't know who's actually featured this week on it. Brushy is obviously not returning.
Yeah, Mako is taking a week off, I believe.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
Yeah, so
he was very devastated by the loss of Brushy, so
needed a week to recover.
That's okay. All right, so we'll check you all on Tuesday then for Heart Center. So that's it for us. Thanks for being here. Have a great night. See you next week.
Good night.